The time is precisely 6:15. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here's the news edited by Dalwin Samarasinha and read by Ramesh Perez. First, the headlines. The special draft bill on petroleum products passed by a majority of 60 votes in Parliament. The Cabinet approves to appoint a ministerial subcommittee on economic revival and development. The Sri Lanka Pradijana Peramuna says the fundamental policy of the party is protection of democracy. The Samagi Jana Balavege notes that human rights and freedoms of the country are in danger. The Navy re-establishes communications with the missing petrol vessel. In foreign news, Russia launches new strikes on Ukraine power plants. And in sports, Sri Lanka beat the United Arab Emirates in the T20 World Cup match at Geelong. Now the local news in detail. The special draft bill of petroleum production was passed by a majority of 60 votes in Parliament today. 77 voted in favour of it, while 17 voted against the bill. The draft bill was tabled by Minister Kanchana Wijesekara. He said that this amendment may allow two other suppliers to import and distribute fuel. 85% of the fuel requirement is currently supplied by the Petroleum Corporation, and the remaining 15% is supplied by the IOC company. But due to the prevailing economic crisis, the corporation has failed to provide the necessary fuel to the country. Therefore, the international suppliers should be given the opportunity. This amendment allows the suppliers to import aviation fuel. The storage facilities will be provided by the Petroleum Corporation. The minister added that Petroleum Corporation was unable to settle the losses faced with the profit of the previous month. The minister further said that the employment of the employees would be safeguarded in dealing with the new international suppliers. MP Iran Vikramaratne said that issuing licenses to import fuel should be done under regulatory authority. Joining the debate, Minister Nimal Siripala De Silva said that this amendment is timely in view of the shortage of finances faced by the Petroleum Corporation, and action should be taken to develop tourism and to obtain fuel needed for the aircraft. The minister also said that priority should be given to meet the fuel requirement of the public. MP Vimal Veeravansa said that the government should encourage local suppliers to compete in the country's fuel distribution process. He also said otherwise it would be a threat to national security. State Minister Kanaka Herath joined the debate, saying that in spite of having gained a profit with the selling aviation fuel, CPC faced heavy losses in the recent past. He also said that these amendments are more appropriate since the country is currently facing a crisis due to lack of aviation fuel. The Cabinet has approved to appoint a ministerial subcommittee headed by the President on Economic Revival and Development. The objective of this subcommittee is to maintain a good economic development rate and to stabilize the economy of the country. Minister Bandula Gunawardena said that the interim program to let the recommended doctors retire will be over by the 31st December of next year. He also said that action will be taken to retire doctors at 60 years. The report of the Cabinet subcommittee appointed earlier regarding this matter was tabled at the Cabinet yesterday. The minister said that Cabinet approval was granted to the recommendations of that subcommittee as well. MP Sagar Karivasam says that Sri Lanka Pradijana Party respects the people's opinion. He said the fundamental policy of the party is to protect democracy. MP Karivasam said election should be held on time and his party is prepared to face an election at any time. During a media briefing at the party headquarters today, he said they will not allow to postpone elections. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Continuing with more local news. MP Intias Bakir Maka says that although 2 months have passed since the detention of Wasanta Mudalage and others, so far no charges have been filed against them at the courts. This was disclosed at a press conference at the opposition leader's office. He accused, in spite of abolishing the Prevention of Terrorism Act, the government is still misusing the same act. He also noted that human rights and freedoms of the country are in danger. Sri Lanka Navy said it has re-established communication links with the naval vessel that went missing since September 17th with 6 naval personnel on board. The Navy launched a search operation after the vessel with a naval team consisting of 5 sailors and a senior officer attached to the Southern Naval Command since September 17th. The vessel was deployed for routine patrol off the Tangol coast on September 16th. Navy spokesman Captain Indika De Silva said neighbouring countries were also informed about the missing vessel. Education Minister Sushil Premchand says that a national level university will be established to turn out more teachers. The minister disclosed this during a discussion with the ministry officials at the ministry. The minister said that they had many requests to bring colleges of education to the university level, and preliminary discussions regarding the issue has been completed. He said it has been advised to draft that information along with the cabinet memorandum to establish national level universities for the teaching profession. He further said the universities will provide 3 years of theoretical studies and 1 year of teacher training. The Fundamental Rights Petition filed challenging the legality of the detention order issued against convener of Inter-University Students' Federation, Vasantha Mudalige, and 2 others under Prevention of Terrorism Act were fixed for November 10th by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court also permitted the petitioners to amend the petitions to add more respondents. And that concludes local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya.
Moving on to the main news story. Cabinet spokesperson Minister Bandula Gunawardena says the Cabinet has given the approval to increase the government's credit limit by 663 billion rupees. President Ranil Wickremesinghe tabled the proposal to the Cabinet of Ministers yesterday in his capacity as the Minister of Finance, Economic Stabilisation and National Policies. Minister Gunawardena said this addressing the Cabinet press briefing this morning. And that was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya.
In Watchlight this evening, Institute of Policy Studies of Sri Lanka will host a seminar to coincide with the release of its annual flagship report, Sri Lanka State of the Economy 2022, focused on the theme, Driving Policy Action from Crisis to Recovery. The seminar will be held on October 25th from 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. at the Saman Kalegama Auditorium, IPS, Independence Avenue, Colombo 7. Participation details could be obtained from Naomi at ips.lk. And that came to you in Watchlight.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of...
We give you the strength to rise higher and higher.
Never step back, but always march forward.
Empowering you to reach greater heights. People's Leasing, the trusted leader.
Moving on to the bulletin of world news. First, the headlines. Russia launches new strikes on Ukraine power plants. Australia reverses decision to recognize West Jerusalem as Israeli capital. Germany extends nuclear power amid energy crisis. Now the world news in detail. Russian forces have again targeted Ukraine's energy facilities with strikes on Kyiv and other major cities. Presidential aide Khyro Timoshenko said there had been 3 explosions in Kyiv. 2 facilities were seriously damaged in the central city of Dnipro, and power cuts were reported in Satmar. The latest attacks came 24 hours after Kyiv was hit by kamikaze drones. Australia has reversed a decision made 4 years ago to recognize West Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. Foreign Minister Penny Wong said Canberra's decision in 2018 had undermined peace and put Australia out of step with other nations. She stressed that Australia remained a steadfast friend to Israel. Its embassy will stay in Tel Aviv. The status of Jerusalem is one of the most contested issues between Israel and the Palestinians. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has ordered the country's 3 remaining nuclear power stations to keep operating until mid-April as the energy crisis sparked by Russia's invasion of Ukraine hurts the economy. Originally, Germany planned to phase out all 3 by the end of this year. Mr. Scholz overruled the Greens in his coalition, who wanted 2 plants kept on standby to be used if needed. Nuclear power provides 6% of Germany's electricity. Back to the headlines of the world news. Russia launches new strikes on Ukraine power plants. Australia reverses decision to recognize West Jerusalem as Israeli capital. And Germany extends nuclear power amid energy crisis. And that concludes world news.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of...
Amidst all challenges, we will rally around you and advance.
In the face of hardships, let's stand strong together.
Empowering you to reach greater heights. People's Leasing, the trusted leader.
In development news, State Minister of Indigenous Medicine Promotions, Sisira Jayakodi, said Sri Lanka is to start the manufacture of cosmetic products from herbal ingredients. He said that Sri Lanka currently spends over $75 million to import cosmetics, and most of them are made from artificial ingredients. He further said local manufacturers will help to create a healthy beauty product, and it will help to save the cosmetic import bill to a greater extent. And that was development news.
Sports News is brought to you by...
With many values that bind us beyond the transaction, we are Sampath Bank. We present your future.
Moving on to sports, it's cricket. Sri Lanka won by 79 runs against the United Arab Emirates in the T20 World Cup match at Geelong. Batting first, Sri Lanka scored 152 for 8 wickets in 20 overs. In reply, United Arab Emirates was all out for 73 in 17.1 overs. Meanwhile, Karthik Mayappan of the United Arab Emirates took the first hat-trick of the 2020 World Cup against Sri Lanka in their first round match in Geelong today. Sri Lanka was 117 for 2 wickets in the 15th over when the leg break bowlers struck, removing Bhanuka Rajapaksa, Charit Asanaka and skipper Dashun Shanaka in successive balls. Rajapaksa was caught in the deep, Asanaka caught behind and Shanaka clean bowled. The 22-year-old became the 5th bowler to snare a hat-trick at the T20 World Cup and the first for his country. And that was sports news.
A special interest rate of 15% on savings certificates opened in October. Prarthana for children, Prarthana Plus for adults. NSB Prarthana, your dreams realized.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
In business news, Abans hosted its annual awards ceremony, Abans Achievers Night 2022 at RIU Ahangala. The event was held after a lapse of almost 3 years due to the pandemic to acknowledge the commitment and contribution of its front and back office staff. A total of 202 awards were handed out to the best achievers who sustained the company through many market disruptions during the past turbulent year. And that was business news.
Business News, sponsored by...
When I grow up, I'll fly to the moon somehow.
Envision your future now. NSB Prarthana will show you the path to your dreams. This thrift month, open a savings certificate. It's a long-term investment on your future with great returns. A special interest rate of 15% on savings certificates opened in October. Prarthana for children, Prarthana Plus for adults. NSB Prarthana, your dreams realized.
Moving on to economic news, Sri Lanka's ambassador to China, Dr. Palita Kohana, said the proposed Sri Lanka-China free trade agreement will assist Sri Lanka to get a wider range of products into the Chinese market. He said that Sri Lanka's agriculture, marine, industrial products and many other new sectors could make an entry to the Chinese market via the proposed FTA, which has been under negotiation between the two countries since 2015. And that was economic news. The weather report is next. Moving on to the weather report, the Met Department says showers or thunder showers will occur at times in the western, Sabaragamuwa, central, northwestern and northern provinces and in the Gond and Mathura districts. Heavy showers above 100 millimeters can be expected at some places in the western and Sabaragamuwa provinces and in the Gond district. Fairly heavy showers above 75 millimeters can be expected in Mathura, Putlam, Mana, Kilinochchi and Jaffna district. And that was the weather report, and to end this news broadcast, a recap of the main news headlines. The special draft bill on petroleum products passed by a majority of 60 votes in Parliament. The Cabinet approves to appoint a ministerial subcommittee on economic revival and development. Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna says the fundamental policy of the party is protection of democracy. The Sammak Janabalawege notes that human rights and freedoms of the country are in danger. The Navy re-establishes communications with missing petrol vessel. In foreign news, Russia launches new strikes on Ukraine power plants. And in sports, it's cricket. Sri Lanka beats the United Arab Emirates in the T20 World Cup match at Geelong. And that concludes this news broadcast from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.